Hello, hello, testing 1, 2, 3, testing 3. Hold on, hold on. Hello, 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 testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3. All right, my microphone working good. Anyways, welcome back everybody to my stream. I am DMXT back at it again with some reaction videos. Today we're gonna be reacting to the Australian wildlife, some serial. Well, let me not say that. Some birds that do questionable things, and then we're gonna be playing some Marvel Rivals. Hey, Ostra, how you doing? Oh, I spooked you. Yeah, I tend to start very abruptly. I always gotta test my microphone at the beginning of this. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna be it. There's actually gonna be some announcements. Currently I am working on getting monetized, so I'm kind of sending all that stuff in. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. Second, I am working on panels because for the longest time I needed them and I just never put them in. So I will be working on panels. I might work on them tonight and tomorrow morning, and hopefully I can have them finished by tonight. That way y'all can see. That's all I could think about for right now. So yeah, that's all I could think about. So honestly, we could just jump right into this. Oh, and also I was thinking about adding like a home screen, like I'm in the room, right? And it's my VTuber instead of just me always just starting on the screen that we're going to. That way we could chat a little bit. I think about adding that in, and I really need to. I just need to find a good room setting. Kind of sick and just saw live and stopped by. Oh, thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. We're gonna be watching an animal video, so since you're kind of sick, why not just watch? We watch a casual geographic, by the way.
An Oreo-flavored bowl cut wearing assault on the food web, a scavenging
Oh,
super soldier steroid weasel, two animals infamous for durability blessed by the almighty, disregard of death as a concept, and being a part-time predatory hemorrhoid, an unstoppable
basically a
force versus an
problem.
immovable object,
Oh
a
my
fight as much
god.
philosophical as physical, and today we'll break down how these musclets match up until in the end, only one is left standing. Now,
I got money on the honey
I've actually
badger.
done this video before, but after some additional research and some number crunching, my answers changed quite a bit, and after mulling it over, I actually feel pretty good about my pick. Another note I wanted to add is there are no definites in nature. What I mean is, if I say animal A would beat animal B in a fight, I don't mean animal A would run the table every time. It's more like if A and B square.
Okay, first off, that hippo gonna fuck that rhinoceros up. Second off, honestly, just going off pure vibes, I got my money on the honey badger. Just because I'm more of a bigger fan of them. Like I know the Wolverine is bigger and badder. I just feel like the Wolverine. I feel like the honey badger got more spunk to it, got more fight to it. Like honey badgers are going to be the one to talk shit while backing out of the fight. Maybe take a swing while you at it, like a sucker punch. Hippos are just unstoppable. Oh yes, the fuck they are. Honestly, they're the most scariest animal alive. Like they run underwater. They don't swim.
Up 10 times, I'd expect Animal A to hypothetically win at least 6. Any debate worth having wouldn't just be one contender steamrolling the other. That being said, let's meet the misfits. The honey badger's black Air Force energy emanating from an aggressive tube sock. At only about 20 to 30 pounds and a length of 22 to 30 inches, the glorified ferret is too small, too slow, and too solitary for a conventional way of life. In a world of fight or flight, the honeyhead's defining trait is not having wings, and monochrome crashouts are actually their best defense. But it's not just a bluff.
Pure crashing
The
out
bane of
on
bees
anything
has
or everything
1.5-inch
around them.
claws, mostly for digging and breaking into hives, and jaws powerful enough to crack open a tortoise. They apparently use those jaws to castrate larger animals to bleed them to death. But if we want to be fair here, we do have to mention that the castration claim came from Kruger Park Ranger James Stevenson Hamilton in 1947 and hasn't been documented since.
Hold on. Honey badgers killing buffaloes near. Is that the scientific name? Cinereus affer and yeah, that's the scientific name. I could just look for those. Okay, so honey badgers killing buffalo and blue wild bees by removing the oh my. He wasn't lying when he said they literally castrate the fuck. Okay, honey badgers, I got a question. Why the balls though? Why the balls? Is it because it's squishy and chewy? Is that why y'all go for those? It reminds you of eating a snake. I know they eat snakes. I figure the texture is gonna be similar. Or like, is that how y'all actually like win fights? Y'all fight? It's just fight dirty. That's how they win.
Either way, the real flex is that if cockroaches
I just
had
thought about
breasts,
that.
they'd
That's how they
probably
win
be honey
fights.
badgers. They're that hard to kill. They famously have thick 6mm skin that can tank
Damn.
quills, bites, bee stings, machetes, and most importantly, severe maulings from much larger predators. The rotel
He
also
survived.
has freakishly loose skin that makes it nearly impossible to pin down without it turning around and delivering punishment to the face. Additionally, they have a reversible anal pouch with a smell foul enough to gift angry bees the power of discernment, although I don't think it would affect a rampaging Wolverine. All in all, the honey badger punches way above its weight, and it needs to have a chance. The Wolverine is a travel-sized bear on bath salts and a different kind of cockroach, living on the very fringes
Not
of
a
existence
cockroach.
where most others could not. Wolverines weigh about 30 to 45 pounds and measure up at 28 to 42 inches, and they also have the honey badger problem of not having the bulk of a bear, the parkour prowess of a puma, or the power of friendship like wolves. They do have jaws strong enough to crush bone and chew through frozen flesh, and 4-inch semi-retractable claws, mostly for climbing, but also for running non-retractable fades. Like the honey badger, they have thick loose skin, but also a coat to insulate them from the elements. They're also the IRS for animals way above their weight class, as they're on record shipping cougars, wolves, in some rare cases, even bears from meals.
He was hold on. What did that fight though?
Anal glands, enough to have the nickname skunk bear. Not something that should matter against a badger, but the fight would be an odious assault on and of every sense. The Wolverine's bigger frame means it has confirmed kills against animals up to 20 times its size, and there's even one case of a Wolverine allegedly putting a polar bear in past tense by latching its jaws around the bear's windpipe.
Hold on, a polar bear? A Wolverine took on a polar bear. A Wolverine took on the deadliest bear of them all and apparently won. Y'all, I think we got our priorities. We should be scared of the Wolverine, not the polar bear.
But just like with the honey badger, there isn't really evidence of a rageaholic gym sock suffocating a polar bear with more than just smell. But
why are you
then
walking
again,
like
people
that?
let facts get in the way of a good story. That's how some animals end up sounding way worse than they actually are, and how other animals don't get taken nearly seriously enough. Like the most dangerous animal in Yellowstone isn't a Wolverine, a wolf, or even a bear. And a quick look at these articles and you'll see that a fluffy, bearded tank puts way more humans in hospital beds. But actually reading the articles will tell you that it's the people causing problems, and the bison are guilty of only protecting their personal space. That's why it's important you have both sides of a story before
Why are you taking a
start
selfie with the
That's why
motherfucker?
I'm working with Ground News.
He
Ground
clearly
News
just
is an
chilling.
app and website developed by a former NASA engineer who saw news outlets basically bias planting to boost engagement. And like I always say, if you think you're impervious to bias, then you're exactly who would be affected by it. But you can take the power back, because Ground News counters that by putting all the world's headlines from across the political spectrum in one place so you can actually be fully informed. Bison bias aside, here you can see the attack was covered by over 120 sources, with 72% being relatively center.
Oh, this is an ad, hold on.
6% left and right leaning respectively, basically a blind spot for the right. But both sides seem to agree Ground News at your disposal, and to stay informed. But to see who would get unsubscribed from life first, it's imperative to see how they move in the world they live in. Because laying out all the tools they have to work with isn't as important as how they use them in the first place. Starting with the sand-seasoned rage-baiting ratel. Honey badgers have the second widest prey range of any mustelid, and most of what they find is by using their claws to dig them up. A study done in the Khalahadi Transfrontier Park found that most of what they eat are small mammals like mice and gerbils, and small reptiles like geckos and skinks. But honey badgers are also high metabolic.
I'm about to say, no they don't, they go for snakes.
Venomous snakes such as puff adders and black mambas, and they'll steal larvae straight from the heart of homicidal beehives. They're so masochist coded that many believe that they're immune to venom when they're only resistant. There are cases of honey badgers being excused from the mortal roll call while eating honey because they got stung to death in the process, and getting flatlined by snakes because they kept getting bit but refused to quit. Honey badgers seem to have a severe lack of self-preservation.
Right, so basically what he's trying to say is honey badgers always go down swinging. They don't run, they always go down swinging. Even if they lose, always fight back. See, I want people to always have that mentality in Marvel Rivals. Don't surrender. No, I can't though, because last night pissed me off. Don't surrender just because we lost the first match, and then we gotta go in the second match. We got a whole nother thing going on. Come on, we can do this. Oh yeah, Ultra, I did implement a Pokemon community game to my channel too. So feel free to do that too.
Running away is physically not an option, but it also means they're crazy enough to try to meal tax a leopard right in front of it. And that's cause the honey badger is a forager on steroids that doesn't pass up opportunities to eat because they virtually can't afford to. Most predators rest and chill after a big kill, but honey badger will stop only for as long as it takes to consume it before running off to find another. This mentality also helps his furry fitted sheet not fold in the face of predators, and constantly fighting back even inches from death means even if it can be killed, it often ends up being more effort than it's worth.
That line's trying to figure out should I take it seriously or not.
An overachieving weasel scrounges a living in the area code of some of the most impressive and oppressive forces of predatory nature. Wolverines are survivalists on steroids that live in some of the most unlivable places on Earth. While bears hibernate through the dead of winter, the skunk bear is still outside in avalanche country. Those claws work as crampons to let the Hulk weasel cling to the side of a cliff, and having large paws means they can run across the same deep snow other animals would sink in. Those jaws are specifically designed to tear through flesh that's frozen solid, and a wolvie will eat every part of a carcass, right down to the teeth. They even have a molar that's been rotated 90 degrees for the main purpose of cutting through ice solid meat. Also, they are the second most disrespectful creature to inclines, with number 1 going to goats. Wolverines will use mountains like we use crosswalks. It's actually why they're so impossible to keep track of. A motivated Wolverine will easily trek through 40 miles of rough, virtually inaccessible terrain in a day, and in Glacier National, there was one case of a Wolverine scaling a 5,000-foot peak in an hour and a half. And that stubbornness applies to their diet, since Wolverines often have to scavenge under the noses of apex predators. But Wolverines can kill too, and in a study, 84% of the observed Wolverines' diets included reindeer, and 28% of those were actually wiped out by Wolverines. There might not be a worse predator
so
to have
okay,
than
they cause extinction
because
too.
of how they hunt. Wolverines are the pioneers of one-person persistence hunting, and in one study, a Wolverine chased a caribou for a total of just under 40 miles in a hunt exceeding 6 hours.
40
The animal,
miles
glutton for
for
a
6
Latin name,
hours.
will tailgate a mark until they eventually gas out.
So he
whether it's a
couldn't find
determined
nothing
garbage
else
disposal
around that
or a
time.
flagrantly reckless felony ferret, beating either would be a war of attrition. But the question still remains: can he fight though?
I mean, can he? Can he fight though?
Both these animals rely on intimidation and offensive defense, but how do they fare when that bluff gets called? With honey badgers, those claws probably wouldn't feel good across the face.
How would they
but the
feel
real
when they
damage is
meet
in
their
that
maker,
bite.
basically?
A honey badger's jaws are strong enough to pull the meat out of a carcass after other predators are done with it. They're actually built for conflict, because the badger's skull has a transverse mandibular condyle that locks into the jaw socket, creating a tight fit that secures the jaw and makes it incredibly difficult to dislodge or dislocate. That's how a honey badger maintains its dental grip on either prey or predators, no matter how hard they buck. The jaw strength is how honey badgers are documented murking goats and sheep, usually by tearing holes in their underside and disemboweling them. The honey badger will also use its nasty bite to factory reset snakes by immobilizing them with a bite to the back of the head. By essentially shanking ops with their teeth and using claws for leverage, the honey badger has scored some impressive wins against raptors like Marshall and tawny eagles, and even the African porcupine, the same one that's a lion's last resort. When honey badgers fight each other, injuries show that they go for the face, neck, and underbelly, because they know that everything else is a waste of time.
Is there a triple
badger
threat
is an
match
absolute
happening in
stalwart,
front of me?
but its size means it's realistically not killing prey bigger than a sheep, not like the Wolverine. The Wolverine is a walking vice grip capable of crippling prey. They have the same tight seal jaw mechanism that all muscelids do, and they use it by climbing
Was
on
that
top of prey
ahead?
and
I don't want to
eviscerating
go
them in the
back.
shoulder area.
I really don't want to go
One of their
back.
favorite strats is running up on prey trapped in deep snow and essentially turning their last moments into a rodeo. Wolverines have
he
used
got him,
this to
though.
single-handedly take down Dahl's sheep, reindeer, mountain goats, elk, and even the biggest mark in the area. From 1967 to 2001 in Krasnoyarsk, Russia, there were 19 cases of Wolverine's flatlining moose, and based on the bodies, they favored tearing at the legs, neck, and shoulder. Now, to be fair, the Wolverines usually went after the young, the sick, or as mentioned, those swallowed by snowdrifts, but it's still a feral ferret the size of a mid-dog, taking the life of an animal 20 times its size. Against each other, they use their hook claws to grapple and try to land their trapped jaws around the face and throat. The Wolverine has a higher power rating than a honey badger, but the honey badger has that dog in him. Even in a dying effort, honey badgers have been known to throw hands at a lion for hours.
Right.
But there's another aspect we gotta look
And they don't care if they
at.
get
This
jumped.
might
They
actually
handle
be what
all of
decides
them.
it. How they match up with predators is a big factor, since in this fight they're going up against another predator. And there's no shortage of threats to a honey badger's well-being. Lions, hyenas, leopards, wild dogs, crocodiles, baboons, and pythons are all liable to catch an African aggro skunk slipping. As much as their reputation precedes them, honey badger got quite a lot to give a shit about. Even though they can live for nearly 30 years in captivity, in the wild most won't make it past 7. Honey badgers aren't the indestructible black and white badger berserkers the internet says they are. They're actually very vulnerable to predators. And it seems that the honey badger's two biggest threats are leopards and hyenas. As funny as it is, mature lions typically avoid them, since beefing with a malice-operated weasel when you hunt buffalo for a living is a genuine waste of time. But leopards and hyenas are more curious, and since a foot-tall badger can't outrun a hyena gang or sidestep a leopard, they literally have no other option than to fight to buy itself extra time on Earth. But ultimately, honey badgers have no shot at crippling any predator bigger than a jackal, and it becomes a losing matchup when a predator decides it does have time. It's just that the honey badger's crackhead determination means it can survive situations they have no business walking
boy,
away
calm.
from. Wolverines don't face the sheer volume,
no
but
one
they
does.
still have a familiar feline build, one of the
Ooh,
greatest
just going
pack
in
hunters of
too.
all time, and one of the largest land predators on
No
Earth
strategy
to be
within
with.
it.
Like the honey badger, the Wolverine's durability has been blown up as time's gone on. They're actually really vulnerable against wolves. They'll square up and fight the good fight, but they're as brave as they need to be until there's a tree. In a study on the mortality of wolverines in Sweden, over 40% died to a predator, likely a wolf or another reen. Of course, we're still talking about a freaking Wolverine, and you gotta take a gigaferret capable of offing elk, lynxes, and on the right day, a moose. Seriously, Wolverines are a legitimate risk to predators that can't afford to tank injuries, and this can lead to them getting bullied out of resources that may not have been worth it. Wolverines are one of the rarest mammals in America, and because they typically live in the inhospitable, we don't really know how these encounters typically go, but we know one thing for sure: wolves, cougars, black bears, and brown bears can and have killed Wolverines, and no Wolverine has been recorded murking one of them, unless you believe the polar bear story. So now we have everything to decide who
it wasn't
won, but
confirmed.
now we have
Never
to decide
mind.
what
Never
winning
mind.
is. Obviously, there's no question who
Wolverines
wins in a fight
are
to the death.
okay.
Is it still a W if you can force a forfeit first? In nature, a fight to the death is rare because the injury sustained would likely life deprive both sides anyway. As much as the drama of a drawn-out cinematic duel to the death would sell, getting one side to turn tail is just as valuable a win. So here, a win would mean either straight up destroying the other or successfully intimidating them. Now let's finally set the scene for the fight. It's the middle of an unbearably long dry season when a Wolverine and a honey badger run into each other at a fresh deer kill. Neither's eaten in days, and both may not eat for several more, and with these being two prime males, this fade might be fatal. Let's review what we got. The honey badger is arguably more durable, surviving maulings that would likely kill the Wolverine. Plus, a honey badger is liable to fight to the absolute death. But even in a fight going the distance, the biggest question remains: how does the honey badger basically beat a bigger version of itself? The Wolverine can survive one of the worst conditions of any predator, and the same jaws that can cripple a moose and allegedly a polar bear should be enough to crush the honey badger's skull. But the honey badger takes a lot to kill, and will be squirming and giving it right back the whole time. For the Wolverine, the question is, if bigger predators struggle with it, how does the Wolverine expect to be any different? It's not easy, but the winner is the Wolverine. The honey badger's looking loose skin and attitude would make this a
I kind of figured. I was rooting for you, but I knew you.
Crush damage on the badger, especially if it lands a blow to the head, which they normally go for. In a fight going the distance, the Wolverine would get beaten up, but the honey badger likely wouldn't be able to get a kill on the Wolverine. But the real winner here is the Wolverine's lack of risk aversion. Even though the honey badger is more kamikaze coded, Wolverine's known to die trying to steal a kill in front of a bear. So the chances the Wolverine backs off are lower than the Wolverine offing the badger, or even the honey badger running first. Against a similar sized African civet, the nasty honey badger is able to pin it, but ultimately the civet's able to walk away. I can't see a honey badger submitting a much bigger Wolverine, but like I said, there are no definites in nature, and in a best of 10, I'd expect a Wolverine to force a submit or a retreat at least 6 times. It was close, but in a matchup like this, only one can take the W, so it's only fitting that the Wolverine already has it. But that's gonna do it for this video. Drink water, hug your mother, touch grass, call your father. Let me know what other matchups you want to hear me talk about, and I'm gonna see y'all in the next one.
I don't get people who actually play with these things. How do you play with a Wolverine and a honey badger without them biting your face off? Alright, next video was going to be... I was thinking about just watching videos of the Australian wildlife because, you know, that's pure entertainment all on its own. Got here.
Bird is a serial killer.
Jesus Christ, you're the Bay Harbor Butcher.
I really hate that name.
Introducing the Shrike, a group of feathery birds
Shrike?
found all over the world, including the land down under.
Adorable.
Now, at first glance, you may be thinking to yourself, how could this sweet little guy be a vicious killer? I mean, he's so tiny. They
Yeah,
only
look
grow
at
up
him.
to around 30 centimeters and cap their weight out at 90 grams. And on top of being about as threatening as a fucking teddy bear,
Ooh.
with their claws. A shrike trying to end anything with its talons is like trying to stab a hippopotamus to death with a fucking pool noodle. Listen to the thing, it sings like it's on American Idol. It's a songbird, a branch geek. It never heard a fly. But I'm fucking onto you, Tweety.
You give me the fucking creeps, you know that, Dexter?
You may have everyone else fooled, but I know exactly what you are, because shrikes actually have another name. They're
What?
called fucking butcher birds.
Wait.
Yeah, that's right, the Dexter jokes actually had a fucking point. You see, when the Bay Harbor butcher bird wants to hunt, they first start by selecting a target.
Tonight's the night.
Now, unlike Dexter, their code tells them they can eat whatever the they want. Insects, mice, me, even
Lizard.
And once they pick their meal, they wait for the right moment and swoop on it. Now, while those claws might be fucking useless, they do have a signature weapon. That tiny hook on the end of their beak. And once they land on their victim, they slide that hook into its neck, perfectly
Ooh.
slotting between their vertebrae and severing their fucking spinal cord. But converting their prey into a vegetable isn't enough. No. These sick fucks keep trophies. Once they have
What?
paralyzed their prey and shattered its spine, they will fly its corpse back to their larder, which is either a thorn bush or a fucking barbed wire fence. And once they get home, they fucking impale them.
Oh.
They will then leave that corpse there for days, occasionally biting chunks out of it, eating it like leftovers from the fucking fridge.
Oh.
Dexter collected blood slides. These fuckers create kebabs.
Yeah, they making kebabs.
This bird
All they need
is
is some
a
vegetables
serial
now.
killer.
Jesus Christ, you're...
Huh?
A lot of people are scared of snakes. But have you ever wondered what snakes are scared of? The answer is this fucking bird. Introducing the secretary bird, native to the continent of Africa,
Secretary
and a
bird.
prime example that being a hater pays off. Coming in at 1.3 meters tall and 4.27 kilos in weight, this lanky turkey has been purpose-built, nay, expertly fucking engineered by the gods themselves with the sole purpose of violating the ever-loving out of any garden hose that so much as looks at it the wrong way.
Yeah, they eat
You
snakes.
see, these bad boys are birds of prey, but unlike their cousins in the same category, they are primarily terrestrial, which means they spend most of their time on the ground. This is because their preference for diet is sentient slithering sausages. However, with this thing being endemic to Africa, their preferred meal also just happens to include some of the deadliest predators on the fucking planet. Does this stop the secretary bird?
No.
Mate. Despite having no natural venom resistance, these absolute
Oh, really?
Giga Chads will eat
Ain't that venom
cobras,
was resistant?
slangs, and black mambas without breaking a sweat. But how do they hunt these things without getting bitten? Simple. They just kick the fuck out of them.
Right. They keep it as simple. Just kick it.
You see, those
Stomp on
long-ass
it.
legs aren't just for show, as a secretary bird is capable of accurately curb stomping a snake's head into the ground with a force equal to 5 times their
Oh,
fucking
God.
body weight. So when a secretary bird fancies a bite to eat, they start out by stomping the ground around dense vegetation. This causes snakes in the area to poke their heads out of their houses to see what the f is going on. The snake then looks up in horror as the secretary bird locks onto him,
Oh shit.
sprints over at Mach 9, and then...
Okay, but the snake can just go back in his house.
A lot of people
It can mind his own business. It don't
But have you
gotta
ever
be
wondered
nosy.
what snakes are scared of? The answer is this fucking bird. Introducing the secretary bird. Native. This bird is a vampire. Introducing
drank
the
some
vampire
blood.
groundfinch, native to the Galapagos Islands.
Oh, let me
and
actually
a
turn up
great example of the horrifying affronts to the universe that evolution can produce when it decides to do a little trolling. Now you see, at first glance, this is the most boring vampire you can possibly imagine. Coming in at a measly 12 centimeters and a mere 20 grams in weight.
Ooh, that's kind of small.
Rocking
That's
a feather
very
pattern
small.
I can best describe as a Minecraft dirt block, and as it turns out, the bastards that wrote Twilight lied to me because it doesn't even fucking sparkle. So if it's missing fangs, angst, a cape, and the funny accent,
You must bounce on it.
how does it
You
qualify
must
as a
what?
vampire? Simple. Drinks a shitload of blood. You see, most birds eat seeds and insects, and while the vampire finch can eat those too, there is a problem. They live on an island, and that island is very small. In fact, they're only found on 2 of the Galapagos Islands, and small islands means a far smaller amount of that food to go around. To the point where these finches can't rely on it as their sole source. Which for a bird usually isn't a problem, because, you know, they don't need a plane ticket to just f off and fly somewhere. However, as the name suggests, the vampire ground finch can't fly for shit. So
What?
how do they get their food? They suck it out of someone that can. This, don't laugh, is the Nazca booby.
Wait, hold
Stop giggling
on.
right there. Another species
Hold on.
of bird
The
is
NASCAR
gulls.
booby?
They are very strong flyers that feed on fish. They also nest on the islands, which is where our feathery Nosferatu comes to play. You see, when the boobies... Stop giggling. Come to roost...
I mean, that's their
the
name.
vampire finch will sneak over and hop onto their back. Then, using their razor-sharp beak, they will poke a very small, borderline painless hole into one of the bird's flight feathers. Once the blood is flowing freely, the vampire finch gorge themselves on it. See, as it turns out, blood is macro-friendly. And considering these things are living
Ew.
creatures, they just make more blood. In essence, giving the vampire finch an infinite food source. In fact, they can get
Yeah.
so much blood from these birds, it is not uncommon to see multiple finches sucking from the same booby.
That's
I can't say that.
yeah. Well,
This
if
bird
it works, it
is a
works. Hey, don't
vampire.
knock evolution. They figured it out.
Tell them with your mouth.
They don't gotta. They don't gotta
This
worry about
spider
anything.
hunts with jump scares. But how? Introducing the trapdoor spider, a family of arachnid containing hundreds of species found in every
Ugh.
continent on the globe. Meaning, yes, for once, this bad boy could be in your backyard and you
Ugh.
never know. Now, trapdoor spiders are particularly interesting compared to other spiders due to their hunting method. You see, normal spiders tend to spend several hours spinning up some elaborate art piece for a
Yeah.
fly to clothesline itself on. And tarantulas just jump. But
Tarantulas don't got
trapdoor
time for all that
spiders,
shit.
they
I'm just
have
gonna
the
use
door.
hands.
Very early on in life, trapdoor spiders dig themselves a hole. This silk-lined burrow will then serve as its home for basically its entire 20-year lifespan. Hell, they basically never leave the thing, like some neckbeard living in his mum's basement. But they've still got to eat, and since DoorDash does not deliver to spiders, this burrow doubles as their method for catching food. You see, they use their silk to craft a trapdoor over the burrow entrance. Then, using their fantastic arts and craft skills, they just bolt a bunch of random shit to their front door so it blends in perfectly with the floor.
Yeah, right.
After finishing their construction project, they will spin up a bunch of basically invisible strands of web on the floor in the surrounding area that act as tripwires, feeding information back to their neckbeard nest whenever something steps on it. And when some unfortunate insect steps a little too close,
Money, money, money.
This spider
Well.
hunts with jump scares.
Yeah.
How? Introducing. This is the world's biggest spider. But why the
God.
f is it that big? Introducing Theraphosa blondie, a tarantula surprisingly not native to Australia for once. It's found on the other tyrannid hive continent, South America. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Yeah, this thing is fucking huge. Coming in at a
Oh,
frightening
hell no.
175 grams in weight and 12 inches in leg span.
A foot long?
And those legs are not the only place it's packing inches, because Shelob's cousin here is packing fangs that measure a huge inch in length. For scale, that is like a 6-foot human packing canines the length of a fucking ruler. But the important question, why the fuck is it so big? And the answer is that I have withheld information from you. You see, I introduced this girl by a Latin name. She's much better known as the Goliath bird
Eater spider. Oh, I heard of those.
This EDF-sized spider, not unlike me, would fucking kill for some KFC. Literally. These
KFC.
bile titans will quite happily hunt birds, remy, frogs, and even lizard. And they do all of this without a fucking web. Yeah,
So they don't.
Goliaths are a pure melee build, hunting by
For real,
prowling the
they don't
jungle
use.
floor,
Okay, so at
sensing
least
for
one of them use a
movement
trap
with
door.
incredibly
This
sensitive
one just used
hairs
pure
on their
hands.
legs. These hairs pick up vibrations in the air, which tell them when something is close. And once their spidey sense tells them that Remy's in range, they fucking jump him, biting him with those daggers they call fangs, and injecting him with fucking neurotoxin. Can I go 1 week without covering neurotoxin? Of course
No.
this thing has it too. You know, I give up. I give up.
Poison is essential
They
in
then
wildlife.
drag their prey back to their burrow and spit up acidic digestive juices
Ew.
in order to suck their prey up through a fucking straw. This is the world's
Oh, they
biggest
nasty like that.
spider. But Australia just found a new record-breaking insect. But before I show him to you, how the fuck do we keep finding new bugs? You see, Australia
know.
is home to an estimated
Australia, who knows what the fuck y'all got there?
1,000 species of insect, which is pretty damn impressive, especially when you consider the only place you're going to find more bugs than that is by counting the fucking roach population in Asmongold's walls.
Ooh.
Now, the scary part of this is that out of that 200k, we've only actually identified 62,000, meaning that we have no idea what nearly 3/4 of the bugs in the country actually fucking do.
You like jazz?
And so it should come as no
Then how do
surprise
y'all
that
know
while
y'all had that
exploring
many?
Australia's dense rainforests, 2 scientists discovered a new record holder for the largest insect in the land down under, and it's a fucking stick bug.
Really? One of those?
Introducing
Oh! Oh,
Agriphila
God.
alta, and coming in at a full 40 centimeters and
No.
44 grams in weight.
No.
I don't think that
Ooh,
qualifies
ooh,
as a
ooh, no.
stick insect
Ew,
anymore.
no, no.
That's fucking Groot.
That is Groot.
Australia's
Ooh, no,
very own
Groot more,
tree
better to
avatar
look
was
at.
discovered in Queensland. Because of course it fucking was. And despite being enough inches in length to make any man jealous, it's actually completely harmless. However, given how many oversized bugs we already
It
have,
don't matter if it's
we
harmless,
find
it's
any
still
more, I
ugly
think
to look
they're gonna
at.
Send the fucking helldivers.
Y'all might as
Australia
well at this
just
point.
found
I'm
a
almost.
new-
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Why haven't the Helldivers been in Australia yet? I feel like that would be a really good map. All you gotta do is just fight the wildlife that get mutated. Oh god, that's a good map. Think about it. Helldivers, you gotta go into Australia, kill all the mutated animals there. Now that is going to be a challenge. It's going to be max difficulty every time. There's going to be no normal mode in that. Think about it. That's going to be one hell of a level.